Welcome to the Austin Behind the Creative Scenes podcast, where we explore how creative individuals already in the industry made it, are making it, or even got out of it. Their everyday actions could be the things you are struggling with as a performing artist. I'm Austin, your host, and together we'll embark on a journey to discover a little bit more about the real life behind the creative scenes. Join us as we delve into inspiring stories, expert insights, and practical tips from people who have been there, done that, and learned from it. Whether you're a seasoned pro or you're just starting your journey, this podcast is for you. So let's dive in and explore the world of the entertainment industry, one series at a time. This podcast is sponsored by the award-winning Mortgages for Actors, the financial services for you and your family. Visit the website to find out more. Hi, Karen.
Hi, good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
I am really good this morning, actually. Yeah.
Good. Well, it's morning for you, but it's not morning for me. So tell everybody where you are right now.
Here. It's 9:01 here up in the sunny area. I need another coffee. The sunny area of Bel Air, and I'm here looking out over the valley, and it's very pretty and very lovely. So I have no complaints right now because I hear it's like -1 or something in the UK.
It's bloody freezing.
Yeah.
I don't know what minus it is, but it's bloody freezing.
Yeah.
It's cold, grey and horrible. So you've done well.
Yeah, I'm doing okay.
Well, tell everybody who you are, what you do.
So, well, my name is Karen, as you said, Karen Connell, and I'm an actress, and I'm doing mostly TV and film right now. And I'm over here and I'm auditioning for shows back in the UK and Ireland and Europe in general. So whenever I'm not shooting back home, I'm over here enjoying the fruits of my labour in sunny LA, drinking iced coffee and living the life.
Awesome. That's exactly what you want to lead up to, isn't it? So what was your latest one? What's coming out soon? What's going to be the next
the
place
last
we
part
see?
had a very quick turnaround. I did a movie for Hallmark, like a Christmas rom-com, which was shooting in Dublin and in Norway, in Bergen in Norway. So that's the fastest turnaround I've ever experienced. I think we finished shooting on the 29th of September and it's coming out this Saturday, which is like the 1st or the 2nd, I think, of December.
That's so fast. I mean, they've got to get it out for Christmas though, haven't they? But yeah.
Yeah, it's just been this wild, like literally like 2-3 months to like shoot the whole thing, edit it. Like I've done my ADR, it's like done. So I'm going to the director's house for like a little kind of private screening on, is it Friday or Saturday? So I think that's like, I'm really excited. I've seen the trailers, like, and it's so lovely and it's so different from other things I've done. And I actually can't wait to watch it with friends and family because I think it's going to be really funny to see me play like a normal person.
Well, you've been quite action-y, haven't you, in the past?
Action-y, evil, murderous, like hardcore creature fantasy. Like, this is one where, you know, I'm not wearing a wig or prosthetics or crazy makeup. I get married. I'm like a normal girl, and it was a really, really fun shoot. And it's just wild. Like I have 2 TV shows and a short film that I've been waiting to come out for like a year, like almost 2 years actually, with Halo, that still aren't out. So it's really lovely to have something that's like actually fast and a quick turnaround, because I'm still waiting on other things to even go up on IMDb, never mind be released on TV, you know. So it's nice. It kind of keeps your head focused of like, okay, like when you're on the audition circuit, it's really tough sometimes because it feels like you go into this vortex where you've never worked before and you're never going to work again. And then I'm like, oh wait, like I did a movie and it's coming out on Saturday and it's lovely. Like the DOP was fantastic. And like I've seen a lot of the not a lot, but I've seen a few scenes in ADR and it looks really pretty, very cinematic. You know, Norway at Christmas is cinematic anyway. So excited to, you know, have that on my reel of just me being normal.
It's really good. I mean, would you know where it's going to come out? What platform?
So this is the tricky thing. It's coming out in the Hallmark channel, which is not available back home without a VPN.
There's going to be people out there that've got that.
Right. I think like my sister's on it trying to get it sorted. If I could like even, I don't know if it's available to like rent or whatever, that I could take home for Christmas or be able to watch it at Christmas at home, because it is quite Christmassy.
But is this what you want to sort of move towards? It's the more style Christmas rom-coms?
No, I've just
genre?
No, now that I've done it, it's like ticked off the list. I think it's very enjoyable, but I think what I really want to do more of is just kind of straight drama. Yeah,
Okay. What,
yeah.
like period drama or sort of nowadays?
Say that again.
Like, do you mean like period drama or sort of up to date stuff?
No, like up to date stuff, like just normal dramatic stories, like not like basically like not fantasy, not rom com, just like straight
Mhm.
drama, like of just like um you know how somebody reaches their obstacle or reaches their goal with their obstacle in place,
Yeah.
like drama. Even like there's a lot of kind of whodunits or kind of crime tinged dramas that are being made in the UK right now, and I'm enjoying auditioning for them. I think last week I auditioned for like 3 lawyers and 1 solicitor, all in these kind of like a whodunit kind of a situation.
Yeah.
Um, like a central murder or central crime, and then all of the parts around it.
Mhm.
And I'm quite enjoying. I'd like to do that, just to kind of like do as much as I can and
Yeah.
expand as an actor really, and have more things in my pocket of what I can do. That is, I'm not just kind of like a one trick pony.
No, well, that's it. And I mean, being an actor, you are sort of able to expand and do a bit of everything. But if there's one direction you like to go in, you can sort of mold it that way, can't you?
Yeah, yeah, I think so. And like, I there's still so much I haven't done. I haven't done horror. I'd love to do horror, and I haven't done comedy on TV. Like, and I'd love to do so comedy. I'd love to do, and horror. I'd love to do, and like a big kind of a crime drama. I think would be very cool because I've been auditioning for a lot of those, and I'm like, yeah, like the writing's often very very sharp, very kind of like bounces off the page, like very realistic, and I
Very
could.
good girls.
Hmm?
Do you mean like Dairy Girls, that sort of thing?
Yeah, that I'd love to do something like that. And just like your BBC dramas, like the Channel 4 dramas, they might be a limited series. Like they often have really, really, really experienced writers who know exactly what they're doing. And I'm only as good as the writing. And the
Yeah.
faster and the sharper the writing is, the more I can kind of have fun with it. And
Yeah, of
actually
course.
the less work that I have to do, the less stress for me. When the writing's amazing, you understand the scene in the first 2 reads of it. You're like, oh yeah, I get it.
Yeah.
Rather than on something that's like a little bit more on the nose or drawn out or not edited as well as it could be, you've got a lot more work to do to make it flow.
Definitely.
And I think that there's incredible writers like in the UK spurning out stories and dramas that like it's really
There is.
inspiring.
There is. I mean, there's so many at the moment. If you just go on Netflix, there's so many like eight part series, and it's almost like the entire film, but just broken up into 8 parts.
Right.
And
And that's
brilliant.
all because there's more money available for people to make TV than movies right now. Because that's all
That's what.
changed in the last 10 years with the streamers and people not going to the cinema as much. So
Mm,
they were probably pitched as movies 5 years ago.
yeah, and
Like
they've cut them up.
myself, when
Yeah.
I've been pitching movie ideas, they're like, can you make it into a limited series? You're going to have a much more increased likelihood of getting them developed and greenlit when they're for TV. Because that's what people are watching at the moment.
Well, that's. I mean, if that's what people are watching, that's what you've got to supply, isn't it? So,
Right? Yeah, there's a like supply and demand.
so a lot of the thing about this podcast is that it's almost to try and help people see not only what you're doing now and how well you're doing, but also to see how you got there in the first place. So, I mean, how did you get to where you are? What was the first step?
Oh, the first step is just having like a wild desire, a dream, like almost like an obsession with acting, like or wanting to go on that journey to understand. Like I mean, I think with every actor and probably with every artist, it starts with just like loving it, and then eventually your mind starts, like your brain breaks a little bit each time, but you're like, maybe I could do that, and you start following like the yellow brick road a little bit. But for me, I had a very roundabout way of doing it. I'm from a really small town in Ireland where there wasn't like drama classes or acting classes or stage school or anything. There was a speech and drama class that you could go to. Um, but that was, I think I was put into that mostly because like I had lost all my teeth and was constantly knocking them out, and I had a lisp, and I was sent into them to like learn how to talk properly. I think like I struggled with like my R's and my S's. I think like, but I know I wanted to be in acting class from like the youngest age. Like I wanted to do it from the youngest age, and all of the little school plays, I would play parts in that. I loved it. And then, but you know, when I did my leaving cert, which is like your guys's A levels, I did want to do drama, but I just didn't have the confidence, and I didn't have anyone around me supporting me. And everyone was like, "You're never going to feed yourself. You're going to be on the streets." Yeah. So I did a 4-year degree as a dietitian, and then during that time, like I tried to do plays. I did short films in university, and after I graduated, I eventually went to Galway in Ireland, which is like a really bohemian artistic place, and I joined a youth theatre there, and it was like, you know, I'd found my tribe, like people who thought like me, where I wasn't weird. I was just like normal like the rest of them. And it was a really big moment in like those, like my early 20s, you know, of like, this is what I have to do. Cause like, it's not just the job, it's the people. It's like, these are the people I understand. They understand me. And that led to like doing loads of plays in Galway. And then eventually I did my master's in drama. And then I moved to Dublin and started trying to get an agent and auditioning and doing as much free stuff as I could to build up some sort of a reel. That went on for like a year or two with very, very little success, waitressing throughout it. I think I did some dietitianing throughout it. Then I did a one-woman show, which was like, I think that was a really, really key moment for me. I was working as a dietitian, so that was paying my rent. And I saw this ad go up on Facebook for auditions for this one-woman show by a writer who's like she teaches one of the university colleges in Dublin, and she'd published like quite a bit, and she wanted to write a stage play. And she said, like, when we look back and like I really shouted for it, like I was like, I need to meet you, like I'll drive down to Dublin and like meet me and workshop me. And like I just had a feeling like this is something I had to do. And then I got the part and hit a massive wall. Terrified to open the script. Suddenly it dawned on me that I'd be on stage on my own with a monologue for like 50 minutes. Would I be able to do it? Would everyone hate me? Like,
that's a long monologue.
It's a long time on stage by yourself. And I remember this moment actually when I was in the dietitian office in the hospital, and the other dietitian said to me, "Baby steps, Karen, just read the first paragraph. Read the first paragraph tonight, and tomorrow night you learn the first paragraph." And she stuck up a little sticky on my desk with like baby steps. And of course, the first step is the hardest. Reading that first page, first paragraph, getting those lines in was all it took. And then I started like getting into it and starting just rehearsing and learning and getting it organized. We spent months in rehearsal, and I started doing that one-woman show, did it around Ireland. And the islands around Ireland, like we just did it. We were making no money, but we were, you know, and we were filling up seats. Like it was, you know, like Ireland, I think really supports those kind of like grassroots theatre as well, which is really important. Because you need to go, like you need bums on seats. It's like such an important thing to do. It's like if someone's starting a band, like you just go to their gigs. Doesn't matter if you like the music or not, like you go because it's so important at the start to have that bit of support, like that pays your light and tech, like the light and tech always gets paid. Like, but you know, the actor and the writer, like not so much, but we didn't care. We had our show on, we were getting reviewed by the papers. And it changed me as an actor for sure. Like the confidence I got from overcoming insane fear, like getting sick the dress rehearsal day, when it dawned on me that I'd be up there on my own the next day. I thought I was going to die, actually. I literally thought I was going to pass out from the fear when it became really real and it was all coming together. And we were doing the dress and tech rehearsal. So after I did that, then the next step was London, and I did a few shows in London, and I got an agent from that. And then I was in a different ballpark. I had an English agent who started putting me in for movies and TV right away. And that led to one of the hardest roads where I was not succeeding. I was not getting there. I was auditioning for good things and maybe a few callbacks, but there was a problem. And eventually, when the frustration of this constant rejection got to me, I was like, how about I stop making this personal? What am I doing wrong? And I went to a coach. I started going to a coach once or twice a week to learn more about camera, to learn because even though I have a master's in drama, that's not the same as like screen acting at all. It's more about the, it's actually more dramaturgy. It's more literature. It's the writing. It's the history of drama. Like it's been going on for as long as time itself, of like somebody telling stories and everyone relates to it, right? And so it's very theoretical. It's very highbrow, but it was not helping me in the room, because I there was so many obstacles in the room. I didn't quite know how to approach the text. I didn't know how to be present in the room and not nervous. I didn't know how to cope with like the cattle mart commercial castings, where you could be brought in as a group if they're running out of time and you're like lined up, like the most humiliating, degrading thing. Like, you've taken time off work, you've gotten the tube across the town, you're brought in for like a Vodafone commercial, and there's like 6 of you standing on a line, and they'll say like, tell us something interesting about yourself, and that's your audition.
Oh wow!
I did hundreds of
So what
those.
did you do? Did you make something up on the spot, or did you actually use
like, have like a stock one in my pocket of like, I have like recurring dreams of like Jim Carrey or something. I can't remember. I had one somebody really random, or like Hulk Hogan, like a recurring dreams of like him making me a cheese sandwich or something. Like just something a bit random that I would say in there. But then through that process of going to the coach, that's when I booked my first TV job in Vikings.
Oh really?
Yeah.
So what were you on the cattle line then as well with that one?
No, it was like my 5th year of auditioning for Vikings at that stage.
Oh really?
And the tape came in for the Angel of Death, and me and the coach did it together. And I remember the days really well. Like, I had just come from like a 10-hour waitressing shift, and I was freezing cold. Went over to Camden on the tube at like 7 in the evening, and I only had an hour booked with him. And we kind of talked about another tape I'd done, and he was not happy with the tape, and I was really hurt by it, that he didn't like how I'd approached the tape.
Yeah.
And then I was like, well, we have to do this. And I hadn't really learned the lines because I've been waitressing all day. I was like, we have to do this. It's a quick turnaround. And he just put me on camera in his kitchen, like no lights really, and just put me up. And we did do something though that I think was really important. Looking back, he brought me up to his bathroom where he had like some Halloween makeup. Like, I think he had like a black lipstick and eyeliner. And he was like, you're not from this world. You're still in this world right now. You've just come from work. We need to get you into a different world. This is like a fantasy world. You're the Angel of Death.
Into that character.
Yeah, and he kind of darkened my lips and kind of smudged my eyes a little bit, and we wetted back my hair, and we wore whatever I'd worn. I think it was a black dress I'd worn that day for waitressing, and we did a stunning tape. It was very truthful. It was very present. I was so dejected that it actually helped me just be very in the moment with him. And that was how we booked Vikings. I mean, that, by no means was that the beginning of a windfall, but it was the start of it.
But I mean, if anyone's seen Vikings, that almost, I guess it's a moment, but it's a long moment that you're on that screen. It's incredible.
It's a scene.
It's an incredible performance. So
it's an incredible scene, and I actually agree. I still to this day think it's one of my best performances.
Yeah,
it's really very layered. Yeah, you feel it. It's layered. You can see the work we did on it, and I think that was maybe if I've never been particularly strategic or smart thinking about these things, but when I look back, putting in so much work for such a small day player job with the coach really pays off in that moment. Because like sometimes whenever I'm super discouraged, I go onto YouTube with the Angel of Death stuff, and I'll read the comments and I'll be like, okay, I'm doing my job. Like I'm doing what I'm supposed to do, even though sometimes we forget that that's what we're supposed to do. You're supposed to just like present a character that people can bounce off and relate to. And like that character is the smallest I've probably done, and the one that I have the most fan mail over, the one that people like relate to the most. Like people have tattooed her face on their arms and sent me the stuff on Instagram or sent stuff to my agent. Like there's and obviously that wasn't just me. Like there was an incredible like award-winning SFX guy, makeup designer. There was a whole host of talent involved in what the Angel of Death was going to look like, and making her so creepy and so weird, and also kind of like slightly mammy-ish nurturing. Like we put in so much weird stuff into that. Like it was I love that character. I love that character, and I'm only sad that it ended on the 6th season, because I would have played her for life.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, she was amazing. But that was kind of the start of it,
Do you feel
of
like that the way, excuse me, do you feel like the way that that was, the self tape was changed to be more like that character? Do you feel like that's changed the way you put self tapes out now to sort of try and stand out a bit differently?
interesting. I probably tried that for a while and it didn't work. And I've done that a few times with very successful self tapes. I'll try to recreate exactly what I've done, which of course does not work. It's not the right energy. Every character and the way it's written and the tone of the show, there's some people out there who'll say for a self tape, like do what they don't expect. If you're doing a
Mm.
brief scene, go in laughing and giggling and chewing gum, like these little tricks that we all have to stand out. I
Yeah,
don't do that stuff because if it doesn't come from your own inspiration, it doesn't really track on camera. You just look like an actor who's trying to stand out. So I do
yeah,
try to stay away from the gimmicky things and do my own spin. Like there are times where I'll get a download, like I'll read a script and I'm like, oh, she has a face mask on when she's having this Zoom call.
yeah,
And I'll listen to those instincts. And like I did one a few weeks ago where even my self tape guy was like, are you really going to put like this white, the white face mask with just your eyes and your mouth and your
yeah.
nostrils, right? He's
Tom
like, that's
Cruise.
quite a wild frame on camera. Like, you want to send in this tape? And I was like, yep, that's what I felt like. That wasn't like a gimmick. It was like, that's who I felt the character was as a lawyer. That she took
Yeah,
the mad care of herself, that her office was full of like products and like little things to do her nails, and that when she's having a meeting, she's doing other things.
yeah.
And they came back within a week and they're like, oh, they love the tape. And they started like asking
Nice.
about availability and that type of thing. I think it can work. Yeah, I think you know what, I think you stay truthful to yourself. Anything else can come across really try hard and really cheap. And we forget how many people go in for it. The Hallmark job, when I spoke to the director, he's like, there was 42 tapes for that role. And I'm like, I'm so glad I don't know that or think about that when I'm doing a tape.
Yeah, yeah. Good point.
You just wouldn't be able to get on camera at all. Like your heart wouldn't be able to take it. But like,
Well, you'd already feel dejected.
better maths than me can do this. The
Yeah,
chances there, like it's not great.
but that's
1 in 40.
the nature of it, isn't it? You go in and hope for the best, but you have to do your best, whether or not there's 42 people or two. You just go in and be that character, don't you?
Yeah, Bryan Cranston in that viral clip says it the best, that your job is not to book a job. Your job is to present and create a character and leave it at the door. And he's so right. Whenever I'm in that frame of mind of like, it's okay if they don't like it. I can't control what they like. I can only do from my artistry, from my creativity, what feels right. But the
Mhm.
letting go part is very difficult. And the bigger the job is, the higher stakes. When you're in the last round for something that's like life changing. Oh my God. Like it's all the planets need to line up for you to stay in your power and your truth, that you stay in that of like, my job is not for you to like my tape. And like, not every actor agrees with that. They're like, yes, it is. Like, you need to book at the job. And I'm like, but if I go in with that attitude, I'm going in with nothing special. But when I go in with like, this is how I see it when I read it, this is how I see her. Here you go. I've put it on camera and send it to you by WeTransfer. Then it's done. But the letting go was super difficult, especially like right now when I'm in the mix for like 2 or 3 different jobs and I'm waiting, and that waiting is
The waiting's the hardest part, isn't it?
the hardest part. The only thing I found that takes me out of that is literally being in the gym.
Oh, really?
Yeah, where I'm listening to music and you're dying in there. So because I'm dying and so upset with life when I'm in there because everything hurts and I hate it,
Yeah.
it takes my mind off the phone and off the email. And so if
Not really.
anyone has like better tips for how to take your mind off it, give it to me, because the gym is the only one I've really found. Like, everything else is tricky. Like, if you're going out for drinks with friends or you're doing something social, like something super social, that doesn't really help as much. I think, like, I've just discovered like the gym and sleep are the only two things when you're waiting on that call. I'm really
That's
selling. I'm really selling this career, aren't I?
I was gonna say, is that your like process? Do you like send the self tapes out and you're like, right, that says it's sent, I'm going to the gym, I'm gonna forget about it for an hour or 2 hours or however many hours you were. And
Yeah,
then
or if it's been a big tape, like I will try very consciously to take that day off and go hang with my friends and be normal.
Just to
Like I'll
try
always
and
go
out of
change
it.
my clothes, like park the character, throw out the sides.
Yeah.
I'll be quite hardcore. I'm like, I'll often delete the emails, which is really
Mhm.
annoying for my agents then, because when they come back, I'm like, what job was that? But I really do try to. I really do like that Bryan Cranston thing. Like, and so many other actors have sent that to me. Like that's my job done. I've presented it from the best of my ability, and that's my job done because there's so many other variable factors that I can't control. You
Yeah.
know,
So
but
you
it's
almost offer, and then you just say, do you know what? If you want it, you want it. If you don't want it, that's fine. I'll move
yeah.
on.
And then, you lose your mind sometimes too. Like, and I'll be shouting and screaming down the phone at my agent, being like, "They can't ignore that tape. It's the best tape." And he's like, "It's a great tape, but they have a favorite." And I'm like, "It's the favorite copy. That's the best tape." You know, like, always
What is-
like on the phone to me. I want to talk to them about this. Like, if there's a girl with a better tape, I want to see it, and then I'll take her out for a drink and I'll see how she did a better tape. There are some tapes you
what a
do.
written excuse as to why it wasn't working.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like what's wrong? Like I remember saying that to David once of like, what's wrong with them? Like that's an incredible tape. You know, forgetting that like it might be something about it could be my accent, my height that's not going to work with the other parent. Like there could be 1,000 different things, or they didn't like the essence of that characterization. It wasn't what they had in mind, you know, or they
Yeah.
might just not like me.
Talking
No.
about that as well. When you sent the self-taping, because when you did Half Bad or The Bastard Son and the Devil Himself, which is a very long title, so I'm not
Yes.
surprised they shortened it to Half Bad. When you did that one, because you're really hardcore in that, you've got shaven hair, you're wearing combats and boots and all that sort of thing. Did you go into the audition? Did you or the self-tape or anything? Was that how you saw that character, or did it sort of come about as you?
No, my tapes for that are hilarious. I'm very blonde and tan because I was in LA, but the energy was the same. I didn't have my hair down around my face. Like it was I just had it like tied back
Mm,
with no makeup and a very simple black top. But her energy in the tape was the same. It was very still. It was very like I could kill you with one punch. So I don't
yeah,
need to
that's
bother
it.
moving around too much. Um so no, I didn't. But I like the second Celia came in to the email and I read her. I was like, oh, she's mine.
This is-
I know who this chick is. I know how to do this, you know. And then actually when I had the recall Zoom with Colin, who was directing it, and I came on the camera, it was about 2 a.m. my time because I hadn't told him I was in LA and he was in London. And I came on the camera and he's like, Karen. And I was like, yeah. And he's like, Jesus, you look so different. And because I had like makeup on and my hair around my face, and he thought I looked like such like so girly compared to the tapes, you know.
yeah,
But the tapes like were just a bit raw. They were just like just hair back, no makeup, and a black top. And my guy over here let me very well for it. Like it just was kind of moody and intense. Um, but yeah, there was like there was I think 6 tapes in total in that process for the Netflix show.
did you have to take on extra training for the fight scenes? You do quite
Yeah,
a lot of fighting now, don't you?
I think we did 2 or 3 weeks like full time, like 9 to 5. In the studio in a big empty warehouse space, and it was really intense. There was
Yeah.
boxing, there was Krav Maga, and there was working with 2 stunt guys, and I found the fighting really difficult.
Mm.
I had like unexpected obstacles. I didn't enjoy being aggressive, like because they tried 1,000 different. The 2 guys worked really well with me. Like I didn't. I found it upsetting. I found a lot of like I cried a few times with like what Jay was in front of me and I was like, Jay's my little baby brother, and like trying to like really they were really trying to get ways to make me feel aggressive, like I'd want to beat him. And I remember a few times just bursting into tears, like I don't feel like that, and they were doing all of these tricks to try to get me freaked out. Same with like firing weapons. Started crying at that too. Hated it. It was a really intense few weeks of training because I was also like getting stuck into the script. Um, and I would go home and like sit in a bath with Epsom salts. Everywhere would hurt, you know, everywhere it would hurt. It was really intense. And the annoying thing about it is that like I kind of forget a lot of the Krav Maga and stuff now, and it was so much fun. Um,
Yeah. I bet it'd
but
come
I
back. Did it
think the
though?
stunt guys did an incredible job. Like I was so worried about that fight scene with me and Jay in Scotland, in the cottage. I think it's like
Yeah.
maybe one of the earlier episodes, and that was my first shoot day on a 30-degree day up in Scotland, where literally like one of the camera women fainted trying to shoot that show. She was going around in a circle, and the heat was getting to everyone, and we all had to be covered up because there was like giant the horse flies, because we were up in the country, so we had all this spray on it. But obviously I was in a full uniform, and it was that was the only day I can ever remember, like, where I jumped into the car at the end of the day to go back to the hotel, and I it's like passed out asleep in the car. Like normally you're kind of like a bit high and giddy, and you're playing with, like, once the day's done, like you kind of get a second wind. And it was an exhausting day, but I was very worried about the fight scenes because we really struggled that day. I was tiring easily. The heat just changed the game. Like, I was so trained for it, and I felt like I was letting down my stunt guys. But it was, the rest of them helped me by shooting it and editing in a way where I was like, Jesus, I look really scary. Like, it looks like I am beating the living daylights out of him. It's very hardcore, yeah. And it's like, it still makes me a bit, like, this is a kid that I'm like beating up and like locking in a cage at night. It's just as well I've never really thought about it too much, because I'm like, is she really a good person? Like, at the time I thought like Sophia was like the best person, but when you look at it, it's like, that's so wrong. She's like beating him so hard. But at the time, obviously, it's just me and Jay. It's like funny to look back, like to see what people see on camera, and I'm like, oh yeah, like, I look terrifying. I've had so many people on Instagram be like, you're so different on your Insta to what you are in this show. The show has a lot of fans. It's really sad for a lot of them that it didn't go to a second season, because there's a fan base that's still growing. Like, it's out a year now, and I still get messages from random parts of the world of like, please, can you please make a second season? As if it's in my hands, and I'm like, I'd love to, but
Give me the money and I'll do it.
Right.
So, who's your favourite character over the years that you've played?
Angel of Death.
Is it her still?
Still Angel of Death.
That's
still the Angel of Death.
Impact, isn't it?
Yeah, and I loved Celia. But Celia was a tough one to play, like the hair, the bulk, and feeling so manly and masculine and scary, while I was offset too. Like, I really didn't feel like myself. It took me a long time to get used to brown hair, and just not looking like myself, my body not looking like itself. She was an amazing character to play, and I loved her, and I'd love to have done more with her. Like, I had really felt like her story wasn't really finished, even though like she does have her arc, and it does start and finish in the first season. I felt like there was so much more that could have been done with Celia, because I feel like people related to her an awful lot. This kind of woman who's not one thing or another, and doesn't really belong to anyone, and kind of walks her own path with what she thinks is right, but is still able to say like, oh, I was wrong, actually.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people really dug her. But yeah, Angel of Death was like so satisfying to play. It really touched me, I think, that script. That scene like touched me. Like, I still get, like, when I watch that, I still feel like it's such a moving scene, and the music they put with it, the way they edited it, it just gets me every time, and I forget that it's me. Like, I lose it myself in the scene, and I forget that that's me playing it.
Yeah.
And you're kind of in the scene, like, as if you're like a little voyeur, like one of the kids watching like this kind of sacrifice. And for maybe I'm completely off my knockers, which might be true, but for me, it never feels like this really aggressive, awful murder scene. Like, to me, it feels like it's this like beautiful, moment between these two, and then everyone's like, "This is terrifying." Like, you kill a child, and I'm like, it doesn't feel like that.
No, but it's not like you just walk up to her and slit her throat, is it? It's like that whole. It's almost like a love thing you do. You sort of draw her in, and it's. Oh, sorry, not you. The character draws her in, and it's really lovely.
I think
but
so
at the same
too.
time, it's been devastating. So
right, yeah, it was just. I love that scene so much. I would love to have done an Angel of Death like spin off of like her going around like doing Angel of Death things, But yeah, she was great. And then Celia I really enjoyed. There was just a bigger price with Celia.
Yeah,
It was like nine months with looking completely not like myself, which made me not feel like myself, and
Yeah.
being in like literally like military gear
Mm.
every day on set, like military, you know. It just was kind of like, who am I?
But
And
now
this
you're
camera,
back to where you are. You're living in LA,
living in
which
LA.
the death Cecilia wouldn't be able to do, would she?
Right,
Learning.
exactly, yeah, exactly. But I learned so much with Celia. I learned so much on that show. Um,
What are the next steps then? Where's the next direction you're going in?
like I said, like I want to expand my range as much as possible. I want to do comedy, I want to do a horror, and I want to do straight drama. So those three things, like, I'm working on. I've also written a comedy pilot for a TV series, and I now have a producer on board, like an amazing producer, like my first choice producer actually. And we're going for development funding in Ireland, because I want to do a comedy series. I want to write it. I don't want to act in it. I want to write it, and maybe direct an episode or two to learn a little bit more about the technical stuff.
Okay.
And now that's kind of like my 24 plan. But yeah, I want like my lead role in a drama show. That's what we're working on for the last 2 months.
Yeah.
Um, just auditioning, like another audition come in tomorrow. It's the same kind of a thing. So that's what I want. My lead.
Well, fingers crossed you get it soon.
Me too.
Exactly
Today would
the
be
truth.
wonderful. The universe, if you're listening today, would be wonderful.
Manifest.
I was like just saying, I was like, I'm heading into week eight of just auditioning. Um, Auditioning, and then you get like an little email of like, oh, you're in the mix. I'm like, I'm in the mix, I'm in the mix. And
Yeah.
then, they're just like, she's still in the mix, but they're not giving me anymore. And like, they're all like bad boyfriends. It's like all these casting directors out there, just like bad boyfriends being like, oh, I like you. Maybe we'll go for a second date. Maybe we won't. And I'm like, what does that mean? Like, I want an offer.
Need to know.
This is part of it. And over here, there's people who completely get it, and they understand when you have those days where you're just like, okay, and you start like googling different careers because you're just like the waiting gets to you, or the uncertainty gets to you, or coming up to the holiday season where people are like, you coming home? I'm like, I don't know. When are you
Maybe.
coming home? I don't know. Like my where I am in the world, like, and what I'm doing depends on like what the next job is and where it is. So
Hmm.
that's another kicker.
How do you find the difference in processes between being in America and being at home? Is there a lot
Well,
of difference?
I can't say because I don't work over here yet, so I don't have an American team yet over here.
Okay.
So I don't really know. I know that there are mega differences.
Mhm.
That they're, I think they have very short turnovers a lot in the jobs here, and there's a wider spectrum of the quality of work. Like I know one of my friends over here who's Emmy nominated actor for
Mm.
a show he was in, and we did pilot tapes together about this time last year. He had a little studio in his room, and he would do mine, and I would do his. And we would have in his studio one wall of like his Emmy nomination
Yeah.
email, which was stuck up, and a few like very cool photos. And I would do his tapes, and I would be shocked by the what he was auditioning for at that level over here. Yeah, yeah.
So it's almost, what do you mean, like lower level or a higher level?
Look, like for me, like student level writing, the stuff you do in college. Yeah. Um, and
What do you
he
think
like
that?
he was doing that over here, whereas like that wouldn't come in. That wouldn't in the UK. I think like I haven't seen anything like that in a long time. And so I think that could be a big difference over here when I start working over here, of like how far back I might have to start,
Yeah.
to make relationships over here, unless I
Mhm.
get lucky with a manager who's able to spin things a little bit. Yeah.
Mm.
Um,
So I mean, why do you think it is that he was aiming so low then? Do you think it was his own
I don't
confidence?
think he was
Like
aiming
new
low. I think he
market?
was just taping what came in. He was just looking, ready for the next job and taping what came in that would like pay him their SAG rate and give him a few days of work. I think that just, and that's, I can't say for it for anyone else, but when I was taping with that guy, I did notice that, and he was shocked at what I was taping for,
Mm.
what being kind of an unknown, an unknown actor. But I feel like I have a great team in the UK, and I feel like done some good work that kind of helps helps me be pitched in a way of like that I'm not kind of messing around. Like I'm able to take on big
Yeah,
things.
ready to
Yeah,
go.
yeah, ready to go. Yeah.
It's really good.
I don't
So
want to go back. It's like I want to be freaking out by how huge a role is. I want to be freaking out about how, oh, I can't do it. I want to feel like I can't do it and then challenge myself to do it. I want to be scared. Like I don't want to do easy stuff. Like I want to grow and get better, and then you're around people who can help you get better, and you're
yeah,
growing and you're getting better all the time. And the better I get, the more, you're always like helping then other people, like because somebody has to help me, like if it's different coaches, different actors, where I'm like, oh, that's really interesting, like it can be so useful to look at your friends' tapes, and be like, that was an interesting choice, and it's just like another little thing you put away of like, I wouldn't have thought of that, because
mhm,
it's such a solitary job, like we don't see each other's tapes, um and we need that, like, because I get an email, I print out the sides, start reading it, and then I either get a friend to tape me or I go to a studio if it's a big job or a big
yeah,
casting director that hasn't met me, that I want to make a good first impression, whether I'm right for the role or not. I want them to be like, ooh, pin her. She's not here to play. Like
yeah,
sometimes tapes are like that, when you're not going to, when you're unlikely to book, but you know that you're not there for that. You're like, you've gotten this casting director to go, okay, I'm ready to see her. Like like uh the Formula One movie that's coming out, like the new Top Gun. Basically, it's the same team behind the last Top Gun. It's going to be a $1 trillion movie. And I remember saying to the manager over here, I got a tape for it, and he like almost fell off his chair. He was like, I pitched about 11 people for that are far more famous than you. And I was like, no, I believe that. I believe that. And I was like, I put it, I believe that 100%. Like when I got that tape, and I remember like screaming down the phone at David, like, you genius. How did you get me for this? And we both knew like the chances of them casting an unknown as the wife of
yeah.
the lead is not very high, but I didn't care because I did my job, because I found out later that they loved my tape. They were like, yeah, we're not giving it to her, but we love her tape. And I was like, success.
No, but that's good for you.
Like, now,
So
now
you
another casting director knows I'm not here to play.
yeah, exactly, and they'll keep that in their mind. And if they see
Yeah,
you again on another tape for another film, they'll go, "Do you know what? She was brilliant the last one."
yeah,
So yeah, it's
and
really
and
good.
that they know that you're not going to waste their time. Like they don't have all day to sit around watching everyone's tapes. Like you don't have, when it's a bigger director like that, bigger casting director, bigger project. Sometimes you're not going in to book it. You're going in because somebody has finally granted your wish of like, I shall see her tape now. You know?
Yeah.
Yes. And then you just try to do your best with the tape and get it into them. This is like terrible. It's on Do Not Disturb, believe it or not.
Do not disturb ever. Um,
I don't know
so
why. I
five
think
minutes before, 5 minutes before the camera hits, what are you doing?
on set
You're
or
ready to
on,
go. You're almost there. They shout 5 minutes. What's going through your head?
totally depends on the scene. Totally depends on the scene. Like if it's a
So you're
intense
right
scene,
focused.
yeah, like I'll either be in complete focus, don't talk to me, and I'm in like getting my final hair and makeup checks, like in the scene, get like not talking in the zone. Or if it's a lighthearted, normal scene, I'm messing around with the crew, eating sandwiches. It totally depends on on what energy I need to bring in.
Yeah,
Um, every scene is so different depending on what's going on. Like sometimes the best thing you can do is be having so much fun with your other actors, so that like there's an energy already when the camera starts rolling. It's only trickier if it's like you're in a super intense, like if you're going in for your final close up on a crying scene, like then I'll be in position and not talking and asking nobody to like talk to me for a few minutes and just to stay in a zone, or maybe even with music in. It's a really sad scene, like a death scene, um, so that when they start rolling, I'm there already and I can
that
kind of
makes
stay
sense.
focused. I think that's like something I'm very good at. I can hold really, like I can be very focused very intensely for quite long amounts of time. Funny enough, only in acting, not in any other area of my life. That might be useful, like driving or, other things I need. In fact, I feel like I'm a remarkably unfocused person in life. And then on camera, I get access to this like
Clicks
like
over.
general. of a generator of focus when the camera's there. Like terror is really good for focus. Terror of not getting it right, terror of not nailing it, like that helps me be really focused.
That's really good. I mean, how do you find practicing? Like, obviously, you have to go home at some point, but you probably want to practice in the evenings as well, don't you? Do something to do with that too. How do you find that? Do you still belt things out at 3 in the morning or 11 at night, whatever time, or do
What do
you
you
have
mean?
a set time? So, say you've got a script to learn,
Yeah.
and it's got, I don't know, a load of shouting in it. Do you wait till you're in the studio? Do you wait till you've gone to work, or do you take stuff home as well and start annoying the neighbours?
No, I
Work
wait
phone.
until I'm in. Like the most important thing I think you can do when you're like on a job is to just get that sleep in. Um,
Yeah.
I'm great with lines, and like obviously in moments like that, like any of those trickier scenes, you're going to know from when you first get your script for series work. Um, but in general, like when you go home at night and you're in London and you're tired and you're cold, you just want to eat like some ramen and get into bed because you're getting picked up so early the next day. So really, my brain works best in the morning. So I would be getting prepped like in the car on the way to set the next day of like going over. I would always do my lines in the car or run over the scene. And then like I think actually the best answer to your question is you're just like trusting that you'll be able to bring out of the ether what you need to be for it, for the
Yeah.
shout and scene. And if you're working with other professionals, often like you'll go for a walk with one of them outside for 10 minutes and just run the scene over and back, over and back, over and back, and discuss like what you might do. What would they be comfortable with this? It's a lot easier when you're actually working. And if there's a scene you're not sure about, you can go to the director and you can kind of get a little bit more support. But
Yeah.
no, I wouldn't. I've never gone home and started doing the work like on the night. That's a lie. I have on the Hallmark job. The Hallmark job was so fast moving and so wordy that I did have to do the lines at night and a bit in the morning, lying in the hotel. I did. So I guess it's like everything. It really just depends on what you have available to you, like time
Yeah.
wise, energy wise. Some nights I think on the Hallmark job I was so exhausted that I would just be like, okay, I'm going to sleep at go to bed at 8 and get up at like 4 or 5 when my brain's fresh, have a coffee and start.
Yeah. So, if you had to give some advice to someone who's desperate to be in your position, that they've started, they've passed exams, or maybe someone that's just come out of the blue and decides they want to do this, what would be your biggest tip, I guess, your advice to help them out?
I would say first of all, tell nobody. Your chances of people saying go for it are very slim. Tell nobody and like trick your brain into it by saying like it's probably not going to work, but like it might be a bit of crack if just giving it a go. Like be very relaxed about it and get a coach, go to class, whatever you can find, whether it's free, whether it's like if you can, most people can afford like 40-50 quid a week. Like if they give up one thing, whether that's a gym or like whatever, they can do that. Go to a coach and start learning, do every free student film, sign up for every free acting event that you can do. Like if you want, you and a friend start messing around on a camera, like just start getting in front of the camera because it really depends on who you are. Like I actually had terrible self-consciousness and like a camera version of stage fright at the start. I didn't feel comfortable on camera. I didn't feel, yeah, there was a disconnect between my mind and my body. There was a lot of work that I had to do. So if you don't have that, like you can move faster, but you need to really talk to my best thing, talk to a professional, whether that's another actor or a coach, and see what level you're already at. Like if you're a complete newbie and you've never been on front of the camera, like then you just start at that level. You just start, okay, here's a play, go read the play. We're going to do 3 pages of this monologue, learn it, come in next week and we'll start working on it and like literally start being an actor. Because an actor is not when you're on set. You're an actor when you're learning lines, you're working on your scene study, you're watching people in a different way, you're trying to pick up different interesting things about people, that like you're an actor is just something you can't like shake off. It just is. Like I see everything in the world in scenes. If like 2 people having a fight on the street, I'm like scene. Scene. Like I see everything
Things can
like
get
in
involved.
I love just like bringing pizzazz to the day. Like I love performing and having fun in everything I do because it's a scene. Life is full of scenes. So I would say to people, go like, if I could have changed anything, I would have been more humble quicker, and rather than just accept failing for 10 years, I would have just gone and eaten some humble pie and gone to a profession. Like, I don't know how to make this work, and I'm so terrified that you're going to say I can't act. And I would have gotten over that fear quicker, because everyone can act the same way everyone can sing. If you learn breath control, you can sing. Whether people like the sound of it or not is an objective thing. But it's the same with acting. If you understand how to read a script, how to understand a scene, how to make something about it unique to you, then it's up to, nobody can, it's like, it's art. It's not right or wrong. You're just acting. That's acting. So that's what I would say, start doing it. And student films, all of that stuff where you get to fail for free with not as much pressure, make all the mistakes. And that's also how you learn what you can do. Student films and short little budget things were huge for me, because I started realizing that I was actually really good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people out there that are desperate to try, but they just don't get the chances. They don't get the opportunities to show off what they can do. And I always say, just make as much as you can. You are a creative person. Create. Like, go out and create. It doesn't
Go out and create.
For someone, just do it for yourself.
The best content nowadays is on TikTok. There's like a few people that like have me screaming with tears with laughter of the relatability of their jokes and what they're doing. Like there's you can, the world wants individuality and uniqueness. Like you just got to find what you are good at, what you're able to do, and believe in that, because it's bigger than you. It's like something you were given. It's not like, people like, oh, he or she is so talented. It's like that person was given talent. It's like to separate yourself from it like a little bit, and then your job is to hone it. Your job is like, Mariah Carey, like one of the best voices of the world, but like she was given the talent, yes, and then she worked and worked and worked and honed it, and is like a super technical singer who knows exactly what she's doing. Like don't get hung up on whether you can act or whether you're talented or not. Get hung up on like whether you know what to do technically, because that was my biggest mistake. I didn't give enough respect and credence to, do I actually know what I'm doing? Never mind about like being naturally performative or any of those things. Like, they don't matter. Just be able to understand a script, be able to think about what the writer is thinking when they're writing that script, of like what's actually happening in the scene. It's not about you, it's about you and someone else and maybe other people. It's not unless you're doing like a massive monologue, and even then the monologue's not even about you, because the monologue's being delivered to somebody for a reason. So the focus has to be on the other person. Like, why am I in this scene? Like, what do I want? And what are the obstacles to that? It's actually never really about you if you're doing it right, I think. Your character. It's about what the effect your character's having on the other character's world.
It's about how you deliver it. Because anyone can read a piece of paper, but it's delivering it that makes you the actor, that makes you the one who has the.
Yeah, and like that's where your uniqueness comes in. Like, who's that actor that really, the Cowbell sketch with Will Ferrell? That sketch, the SNL sketch. It's really famous. Okay. Anyway, he's Angelina Jolie's dad.
Oh, I know who you mean.
Jon Voight. Anyway, if you think, or even just like William Shatner, just think about people that are just like famous for how they speak and deliver words. Morgan Freeman, they do things that are so right, or they just do things that are so unique to them. Like Morgan Freeman, like, or not Morgan Freeman, Samuel L. Jackson in Pulp Fiction, with the kitchen scene. Like he did it like nobody could do that scene, I think, like the way he did it. He just was so suave and real, and you believed him. And that seems to be quite how he is, like, a lot of the time. Or Nick Cage, like, they're just being them. Ryan Reynolds delivers things the same in real life as he does on camera. And he's really good at it because he has insane comedic timing. And they're just doing what they're best at in a way that only they can do. And then you become a Ryan Reynolds or a Samuel L. Jackson because you're you're bringing something that can't, like somebody else, like the robots can't do yet. Well, hopefully.
Well, it's they're bringing themselves to the character, aren't they?
Yes. Yeah, exactly. So, I think it really is those old adages of just be, do you, be yourself, believe in yourself. Everyone has something to give, and we all think that we're not good enough, but like other people look at you like you are good enough. So you should just try to remember that. Like in our heads, we're never good enough for anything. Um, and we look to other people as being good enough, our favorite actors or singers or people that we crush on, whatever, like they're good enough.
Yeah.
You just have to kind of find a way to like hack the brain, hack your mind on that of like, I'm not good enough in my head, but maybe someone else thinks I'm good enough.
Yeah, I mean, any job can be like that. Like my job, or even a carpenter or something like that. You might look at their work and think that's incredible. They'll look at it and go, that joint's not quite right, and this isn't quite right. And that's exactly how it comes back to us.
Like a chef, it's the same with everyone. You make a cake and like, oh, it's not as good a cake as yesterday's cake. Like and then someone else is the cake and it's the best cake I ever had.
Exactly.
Like you have to remember that, like to act. I think that's what I mean by getting out of your own way. Like I got so stuck in that, like about whether I was good enough, whether I was talented, all that stuff. And it did not, and still does not matter. What matters is the work.
Yeah. So stay true. Know you can do it.
Yeah, and like you don't even have control over that, but like you do have control over like, can you work with great people, can you learn better, can you watch things that inspire you, give you little things to add to your own mix, and then you start figuring out like what you do really well. And I can do like intense, intimidating, scary, quiet, still really well, and it is really scary on camera. It's not who I am in real life, but it's a place I'm very comfortable doing. It's like an alter ego, you find you find things that like are easy for you to do.
I mean, different actors, but you got one specifically that you aspire to be like.
I always loved Naomi Watts. I always thought Naomi Watts was a beautiful actress. I still do. She would have been like one of the early ones, like her and Sean Penn, like everything they'd done together, I felt was always so full of heart and beauty. I am obsessed with a lot of like, I think Leonardo DiCaprio is smart. Like he makes such smart choices, and he's really seamless on camera. Like you don't see one wobble. He's so thorough. Like I think he's fantastic as well. I think, like there really is too many to say, because everyone has like, I pick up things from actors all the time of like they're doing them really well. There's so many, and like the best ones are bringing something very unique to them, like Meryl Streep. She's very self-effaced in real life, and that kind of comes across on camera too. Like it almost looks like it's just Meryl on camera doing Meryl, which is like the sign of you're around like a top tier genius level when it looks like you're not doing anything, because trust me, you're doing something. There's work gone, and to get to that level of seamlessness where you know what you're doing every single beat, you have to you're very smart. Like you understand every beat in the scene, you understand what you're doing, what they're doing, to make it look like a real life interaction when there's 60 cameras and lights and people around you. It takes so much more than just like talent. It takes insane focus. It takes insane comprehension, professionalism, focus, and just understanding everything. I think that Matthew McConaughey said some really interesting things about that too. I've agreed with like a lot of the things that he does with scripts.
Yeah.
He doesn't try to learn the lines. He just tries to understand the scene, and that's what I do too. I never try to learn lines because I don't understand the scene if I have to learn them, which usually means it's not that well written. If I'm struggling to understand the scene and I have to resort to like last minute like learning the lines, then there's usually been a little flaw along the way, in my opinion.
That's fine. That's fair.
Writers.
I mean, I wanted to keep this to an hour. I could talk to you with you for ages, absolutely ages, because we're both.
This can be podcast part one.
Part one. So this can be part one. We'll do another one later on, and we'll talk about what happened, I don't know, next year or the year after or something like that, and we can review what you've done since then.
I love that. I'm happy to chat to you anytime, Austin. I'm a huge fan.
Brilliant. So where can people find you? If they've watched this and they want to find you, follow you, they want to offer you a job, you never know.
The best thing is Instagram is the best way. Like, if they want to give me a job, call me. Or go to David. But honestly, Instagram has everything. It has my IMD Pro. It has all the links to the stuff that's coming out, and that's like Instagram at like Karen M Connell is where I am, and everything can kind of like, that's basically our websites nowadays, isn't it? Where everything is there, so that's the easiest way. Yeah.
Double N, double L.
I'll make a few new friends. Come say hi.
Let's do it. Right, I'm going to spring this on you. 3 words to leave the people with. Inspirational. You can't use that one.
Magic, millions, momentum.
Perfect. I like it.
Every day you're looking for those 3.
Yeah,
and it could be like millions of laughs, millions of jokes, millions of pounds, millions of dollars, millions of good vibes, like just like millions, like abundance of everything, bit of magic and like momentum, like that lovely feeling when things are hotting up.
And keep going.
They're my favorite words.
Perfect. Well, Karen, it's been wonderful to talk to you, and I can't wait for the next one.
Yeah, me too. And thank you for asking me on. You're the best. Have a friend.
See
you later.
Bye.
Bye. Take care. Have a good evening.
If you would like to guest on the podcast, or if you know someone who would, please get in touch via the website www.mortgagesforactors.com, or look for us on our social media, Instagram, Facebook, or TikTok.